During our miserable existence on planet Earth, we have these things called friends. And the worst thing any person can experience is letting these friends down. Now, if you don't want to let your friends down, you need to watch today's video because I'm going to teach you how to prep for Guild Wars. And I'd like to think your guild are your friends, your idle heroes' friends, who you, sir, do not want to let down. So let's go check out today's video. So here is the Guild War prep phase, and as you can see, most of these are full. Each of these say 3 out of 3 because they take different people from your guild and plonk them in a place. You can see they all stack their best few heroes in a lovely little collection and try their best to do very well. But not everyone's done this the most optimal way, and I'm going to teach you how to do it the most optimal way. If you look down here at the ship called the Sapphire, there's a lovely little space for me down here. Everyone else is set up and prepped and ready to go. I'm the last one in, and that's a good feeling, knowing that I'm the one that it all depends on if I join. Now you can see here, this is how I set things up before, but this is all rubbish. So we're going to remove all of this crap because I'm going to teach you how to do it properly, unlike original me, which did it all wrong because I'm a stupid moron. So the way Guild Wars works is pretty simple. The prep phase lets you set up 5 teams of 6 heroes, which will each defend against your enemies. Now your first impression is probably to treat this like Interdimensional Arena or the old school Trial of the Champions and have certain teams that are very strong and some teams that are very weak. But to those of you that are thinking that way, I say, no! Don't be stupid. The best way to beat your enemy is to think of your enemy like you would yourself. Because actually empathy and understanding is the best way to predict what your opponent is going to do. When we play Guild Wars, we are forced to fight each and every one of these zones. Now you can count and see there are 10 different zones to fight in. Now if you look at a standard collection of heroes, I do not have 60 heroes, because if you didn't know, in Guild Wars, once you've attacked with a hero, that's it, it's gone. So you have 10 places to fight with a team of 6 heroes. That will need 60 E5 heroes to defeat them all with big stonking whopping smashy teams. And not everyone is GDP, so we don't have 60 E5 heroes at our disposal. So how do you make the most of this? Well, you predict what your opponent is going to do. First things first is most people are probably going to split their E5s up, attack on maybe half of them with some E5s, and the rest of the time they're just going to be chucking crappy 10 stars like this level 101 Gru, or throwing some shitty 9 stars in like this level 101 Deathsworn, or maybe even worse, they're just going to be throwing in level 10 King Bartons because that's all they've got at their disposal. Now people will do this, they'll rely on their monster because they'll be able to use the same monster over and over again. They'll rely on that monster to get the most damage possible. So how do you beat an opponent who's mostly using crappy 5 and 10 and 9 star heroes? Well, you build and prepare for that. And that's what we're going to do today. So the first thing to consider is that we know that most people are going to attack with crappy teams, full of 5-star and maybe 9-star, maybe 10-star heroes, but these teams are generally going to suck, and if there is going to be an E5 in there, there's only going to be 1 or 2, because most smart people will spread their E5s in the attacking phase. So we need to know that the way to win is to have the better team. But whether you have an insanely better team or just a slightly better team, winning is winning. In the great words of Fast and Furious, whether you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. So let's start off by looking at our E5 heroes that I have. Okay, I get it, I have a lot, I know, I've got Russell, I've got Ada, Belrain, Drake, 2 carries, an Amon-Ra, a Mim, and a Garuda, and they've all got the optimal stones and class armor. There's also a Gustin. They're all really nicely built. I'll show you how they're built later on if you really care. We'll just have a quick rush through. Spoiler alert, I don't actually show you how my heroes are built. Sorry. The important thing is these are my E5 heroes, and I know most people I fight will be sending in maybe 1 or 2 E5s. Next fact I know. Most people are going to be using 1 monster only for these fights, and generally everyone has a monster that's level 180. So if I quickly disable these monsters real quick, I can talk you through this. So I have, as you can see here, pretty much 3 monsters that are max. My Griffin is 174 but has max everything else, so I have 3 pretty much max monsters. What I've also done is leveled up Dia and the Ice Pet to level 60, just so that they give me a little bit of an edge as secondary teams in Interdimensional Arena. But I also need to bear in mind these are weak pets. They are not going to be very strong against a bunch of 5 stars with a really good monster because monsters provide a lot of stat bonuses. So generally I'm confided to having 3 very good teams. But I could put really strong heroes with crap monsters and actually beat some teams that are running a really good monster and have crap heroes because at the end of the day, I'm just going to win on raw power because I have an E5 and they might not. First things first, we're just going to place in our monsters. So we're going to put Dragon at the top, then Griffin, then Phoenix, then Deer, then the Ice Pair. That's fine, alright? Our monsters are set up. Next thing, we have all these E5s and we need to plan where we're going to put them. So I'm going to start thinking about strategy. What do I know? Well, I know Russell and Drake go really well together, so one team is going to have Russell and Drake. I also know that Drake can dodge like anything, so we're going to stick him in slot 1, and let's look at the rest of this stuff. What do I know that synergizes well? Well, Mim cheese is exceptionally tasty and goes good on every pizza, so we're going to put Mim on a team on his own, and we know that carries are really good, so we're probably going to put a carry with this team here, and then we'll fill the rest in there, and we're probably going to put a carry on this other team, because why not? Mim doesn't need a carry. He's fine. So next up, we probably need to consider some other forms of synergy. What have we got here? Well, we have Amon-Ra, we've got Gustin, we've got Belrain. 3 decent support heroes. You probably don't want to put them all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put... let's think about this. Well, I know Garuda is the answer to all Mimchis, so I'm actually going to put Garuda down here. She doesn't even need a good pet. We're just going to put her in because she's a very powerful hero. But I want to keep this Garuda alive. So I'm also going to give her some degree of support. I think the best one to go with for now is probably a Belrain here on this team. That means we can have Amon-Ra with these Adas and this Gustin. So we have basically 4 very strong teams. We've got Carry with Drake and Russell. We've got Gustin with Carry, Amon-Ra and Ada. We've got our Mim Cheese team here. And we also have Garuda with Belrain. This bottom team is going to be an entirely different conundrum, which I'll talk about later. I'm thinking, you know what, actually, I'm going to change my mind on this one. I'm going to put Garuda with Mim, because the answer to Mim Cheese is often a Garuda. So if I have a Garuda of my own, I can shut down people that are going to try and counter my Mim. Secondly, I'm going to put Belrain and Gustin together, and you might think, what the heck are you doing, MK? That's a ridiculous strategy. They're 2 healing heroes. You have nothing here to support that. Well, to that I say you're wrong. I do have something to support that. I'm going to do some Oberon cheese, because if you didn't know, Oberon synergize really well together. They all twine, it all gets silly, lots of CC, and it's a great way to shut down any team. So with the Gustin and the Belrain, they're going to heal. We've got a Deer Pet which can heal as well, and I've got 4 copies of Oberon, all of which have Magic Source or some form of energy artifact. I've got one that's 9-star, good for him, and the rest are 5-star. So these are all going to sit together. The Belrain and the Gustin are hopefully going to keep them alive, and it should end up being a pretty decent strategy. So let's look at the other teams we do. Well, we've got Mim Cheese here. Mim Cheese with a Garuda. Classic things to make Mim Cheese work is heroes that do good things when they die. Destroyers. Don't even need to give them anything. When they die, they make heroes stronger. Synergizes well with Mim. And I'm also going to stick in an Emily, because Emily's also pretty good for that same reason. So these are going to buff Garuda. It's going to buff Mim. It's going to make that team hit like a powerhouse. So that's good. Alright. Strategy's done. We've got our healer team with Oberon Cheese, and we've got our Mim Cheese. There's our 2 cheese teams that are going to probably steal us some cheeky wins. Now we need to play like clever people and actually look at our teams that have good heroes. So, well, we've got Carry, Amon-Ra, and Ada. I like it. It's a decent core. And we've got Carry, Drake, and Russell. So we need to give them heroes that complement what they want to do. Well, we've got a Cruz here. He's got decent CC. We've got Gru. We've got Karim. We've got Heartwatcher. We've got all these heroes we can add to the mix. What I do know is that Cruz and Heartwatcher are probably the stronger ones here. And I probably want to put Heartwatcher with this one because Amon-Ra has a higher chance of keeping Heartwatcher alive. Cruz can stun the opponents, which will give them a chance for Russell to destroy them. So that's going to work well too. These 2 teams, decent bit of synergy there. I like it. Right, next we're going to need some other things that complement. Well, Karim actually benefits when opponents die, so he can actually clean up if he can stay alive. So, if he can stay alive, well, that means I'm going to stick him with Amon-Ra, because Amon-Ra can give him bubbles to keep him healing. And we're going to have to look at what else we've got in here. Well, let's think. Healing? You know what? Let's stick in Ormus. Why not? Ormus provides some decent healing. We'll stick him in there. Right, next up, we've got to put 2 heroes up here. They've got the Dragon Pet right now. What's going to synergize well with that? Actually, let's think clever here. if they have an opponent with Purify, then it might remove the stun. So let's give them another effect they have to deal with Purify. We'll give them a Death Swarm. You know what, let's not even give them that, yeah, actually, no, let's give them that Death Swarm. That Death Swarm's probably going to die anyway. And that actually means I'm going to put Phoenix at the top. Perfectly sound strategy. There we go. Phoenix is at the top. Synergizing with that Death Swarm. Death Swarm puts out Burn, which means you can get the bonus damage from Phoenix, which is good. And that leaves me now with my final few selections. It's probably going to end up looking like this Gru. Not a great hero to put in slot 5. If anything, you don't want to put him there, so I'm actually going to... Yeah, that makes way more sense. So yeah, that's good. That's all fine. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to put Death Swarm at the front just so that he can die, and then we'll put Carry. Then we'll do Drake. You know what, Drake? Nah, Drake can go there. Screw it, that's fine. That all works. Right, cool. Final team. I don't know. This is a head-scratchy moment. What could we possibly do? You know what, guys? Just throw in whatever you've got left. Literally, as long as they're strong, you can take advantage of this. And you're probably thinking, gee, MK, you've got so many 9 stars and 10 stars. Well, guys, I'm prepping for a big E5 push a little later on this month where I'm going to build Sherlock, maybe even Olivia, definitely a Faith Blade for Aspen Dungeon. We're going to have a lovely time, so guys, stay tuned for that fun stuff. But yeah, what other heroes are we going to throw in here? Well, I want a Belrain, decent support. We've also got a Sherlock, might as well use that. Now with that done, the next thing to do is reorganize these heroes, because Bade in slot 1 is not a good idea. In fact, Queen in slot 1 is a much smarter idea. We'll put Ice Blink in slot 3, Bade in slot 2, and everything else is fine where it is. Now, we also need to remember, most teams are going to be walking around with a good monster, and this team is probably just going to flat out lose to an opponent with a decent monster, whereas actually the team with Amun-Ra and Ada has a much better fighting chance. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove our Sphinx. We're going to put our Sphinx at the bottom. So that means putting Ice Pet in slot 2. It means putting Sphinx in slot 5, which means these heroes are now buffed by the Sphinx, which means they're going to do pretty well. And all in all, that is good. I like it. We finally have something that looks like a decent Guild Wars lineup. So that's my lineup, guys. It's real simple. We've got our strongest team here, which is Death Swarm and the Cruce for that Purify annoyance. We've got Gru there, which is also going to debuff them. That's more Purify annoyance. And then we've got Drake and Russell for big smacky smacky, and Carry for stealing energy. Next team, we've got Carry for stealing energy. We've got all this lovely healing from Ormus and Amun-Ra. We've got our Heart Watcher to debuff opponents. We've got Karim to try and clean up, maybe, fingers crossed if I'm lucky. And Ada, who is tanky Ada, who's going to just smack people down. Fingers crossed that works as well. We've got our Mim Cheese. So Emily's going to cheesy cheese them away. Destroyers are going to die. It's going to buff Garuda. It's going to buff Mim. They're going to hit like a powerhouse. We've got Garuda here to counter opponents that are trying to use Garuda to shut down my Mim Cheese. So it's an anti-Mim Cheese team. Genius. And then also, guys, we have our Oberon team here, which is going to twine for days. All of these Oberons are running around with energy artifacts. We've got Belrain and Gustin to keep them alive. What more could you ask for? And then finally, this bottom team is running Sherlock, Belrain, all these kind of weird little 9-star, 10-star heroes that aren't that great, but we are using them with a good pet, so hopefully they're still going to beat teams that are using 5 stars with an okay pet. So all in all, guys, pretty much every single team here beats most 5-star teams with a decent monster. And that, in my eyes, guys, is a win. So to summarise, don't be a moron and stick all your E5 heroes together. That's what an idiot would do. Don't be an idiot, be a smart person. Spread your E5s out, build lots of balanced teams that all do very well against the opponent, and you're gonna have a good time. So play smart, win, and keep those friends in Idle Heroes, because you might get kicked out your guild if you're playing like a dum-dum, and you don't want to be a dum-dum, because no one wants to be the dum-dum. That's my job. I'm the idiot, not you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe for more guides on how to get good at Idle Heroes. I do this every week. No, I don't. That's a lie. I don't make Guild Wars guides every week. But I generally make videos every week at some point throughout the week. You know how it works. I make event reviews. I show you openings. We do fun stuff. It's great. So join the content here. Stay up to date and don't be a bad player. If you want to catch more content, it's there. You should probably click it. It's probably something important if you haven't seen it already. If you have seen it, good for you. Well done. But yeah, comment down below how stupid you've probably been at Guild Wars, because I know I was when I started. We still won, though. That's nice.